2023 Police Station Building Committee. We do have a quorum, and this meeting is called to order. First on the agenda, we have the minutes from the May 22nd, 2023 meeting. Any questions or comments? None?
Make a motion, we accept.
All right, we have a motion,
Second.
and we have a second to accept the minutes from May 22nd, 2023. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so voted unanimously. Next, we have bills and warrants. Alex, I did not get any bills and warrants. Did those come out late?
Yes.
I did not see those from Neil. I do not have those. So if we could maybe if we can get a copy of that
Yep.
for when Neil gets here, and then we'll push that off.
Yep.
All right, so we'll just go right to the reports then. First, we'll start with with Matt from Tecton Architects. How are you, Matt?
Very well. I will try to stretch the floor until Neil gets here,
All right.
but I have a really short update, so I probably won't be able to do that.
Okay, you're done.
We're kind of out of the architect's update, and I guess I'm going to play civil engineer's update at the moment, because the building is essentially done with a little bit of minor punch listing and a few change order components that are ongoing, that have gone through this committee or are pending this afternoon. Primarily, the major work that's left remaining is the work between Town Hall and the police station itself. These are some images from last Thursday. A little bit of progress has been made since then, in between rain showers and thunderstorms and the like. So this is the trench that was opened up. They were doing some underground utility work. This is where the fire hydrant was tied in, I believe. So as they're completing the utility connections, they'll begin final grading, getting ready for binder course and grading. Another image of the same area, and this is basically looking from the front of the town hall towards the new police station. You can see the number of various trades that are in there doing work and getting the subgrade prepped and all the utilities in. Everything's been going pretty smooth so far, which is good. Biobasin at the front of the drive that'll be running between town hall and the police station. Excavation was underway last week. I don't know.
That was the fire protection that was
running over to the
that was running
police
over.
station.
So today they installed the drainage that runs from the catch basin and the east entrance, the front entrance of the police station, over to the west edge of that basin, and they'll start digging out for that pond tomorrow. So that'll be tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday. And that's, other than some flared end sections and a little bit of pipe, they're substantially complete with the drainage and all the deep underground utilities, so that'd be your water, and your drain pipe.
Couple of other ongoing items on site. This is the Grove area behind the Veterans Memorial. That orange painted line through the grass there is more or less the path that was shown on the initial design that we had updated the committee on a few months ago. This sort of meandering path where the picnic tables were going to be lining within that Grove area. So we Fontaine marked it out, striped that line, and then we were looking at existing tree locations, the sort of drip line of those trees where the root structure was going to be, as well as reviewing the on-site grading. There wasn't a lot of detail in the initial survey that was done of this area that didn't account for one steep section through there. So just tweaking that pathway slightly, and we'll update the committee, when that's been resolved. Slightly tweaking that so that we have better ADA accessibility through there, and then when we put the concrete pads in for the picnic tables, that we're not undermining the roof canopy and root system of the trees, as well as potentially damaging the concrete pads over the next 5-10 years as the roots grow and modify. So more to come on that. That's another view, sort of looking within the Grove towards the town hall, and you can sort of see this area right here. It drops down in grade about 1.5 feet pretty quickly. So that's the area that we're trying to negotiate at this moment, because we don't want to, because there's so many trees in the area, we can't really regrade anything in there. So we're kind of finding a path that works best based on the existing grading and what we can do to maintain ADA accessibility. So Fontaine and Amarello took a number of spot grades out there on Friday, and our civil engineer is reviewing that and seeing how we can shift that pathway just slightly to make it more accessible. And then, sure, everybody's seen the beautiful grass growing at the front along Maple Ave. I'm not aware, or I'm not sure if anybody has seen it. During significantly heavy rainfalls, we have noticed that there is an area off to the left of this image where there has been some ponding occurring. The water is not percolating down through the sublayers as quickly as we had hoped or the engineering calcs had shown. So we are looking, Fuss and O'Neill ourselves, Fontaine and town engineering are reviewing several options that can help mitigate that ponding issue going forward. So we're hoping in the next few weeks here to have an update out to you guys to let you know sort of what our best approach would be. It's not necessarily an issue now, but it's the kind of thing where if we want to mitigate it ahead of any winter to make sure that there's no ponding or anything that would ice up and cause issues along Maple Ave or the sidewalk. So more to come there, but solutions are in the works at the moment. Couple other little updates. Wanted to update you on a small plan change at the Veterans Memorial. This is the current condition now. There's sort of the concrete walkway that runs in front of it and in the concrete pad that goes around the memorial. Initially, we were replacing these sidewalk areas with the asphalt, new asphalt sidewalks that would match with all the other sidewalks that are going on through the area. So the image on the left is sort of what it would look like if we proceed with just sort of replacing everything with asphalt. We thought it would be a little bit more prudent to leave the concrete pad that's around the memorial there and just replace the sidewalk portion so that all the sidewalks are tied in together, but the area around the memorial more or less stays the same. There's also quite a few things with the benches and things like that would eliminate us, damaging and moving and dealing with. So,
And we're gonna wash that concrete sidewalk before we leave too, just to clean it, just to brighten it all up and clean it all up before we go.
So you want to keep the one on the right then?
correct.
Correct.
Yeah.
And the new sidewalk is 5 feet wide as opposed to the old 3 foot wide.
Right. Yeah. So it will be wider as
It's an
well.
ADA compliant
Sure.
walkway.
So the current concrete one is not ADA
Yeah, it's only 3
compliant,
feet wide, so.
I actually think the proposed one looks better. It makes it look like here's a artful feature off the sidewalk, a destination thing.
I agree. And then lastly, one other thing that's coming up is we added, the chief is looking to add a fabric press briefing backdrop that he can use in the training room, but also elsewhere if they have other press briefings around town. A lot of police departments have these for larger press briefings. It's basically a fabric backdrop that gets stretched out, and it's something that sits in the background. If you ever watch a press conference or something like that with a police department, you'll see one of these. Since we already have a signage vendor through the CM contract, it just made sense to sort of procure it through that way. So we do have design, which is what you see on the screen here, with the police badge on the left and the town seal on the right, and then the ghosted image in the background repeating of Shrewsbury Police and the police badge. So pricing is in for that, and we should have an update for that at the next committee meeting.
What are the dimensions on that, Matt? I can't read that.
8 feet tall, 12 feet wide.
Okay, thank you.
So I don't want to put words in the chief's mouth, but I believe part of the issue with the training room right now is they put that back, they have a digital version of that backdrop that they put up on the projection screen when they have something like that, but the camera, like if there's TV cameras or something like that, doesn't pick it up as clear as the physical backdrop would. So that's kind of the purpose behind that.
As well as it being portable.
Portable, yeah.
If they were to have a press briefing somewhere else.
Questions, Donna?
I know you said that you're getting pricing, but what's a general price for something like that?
I've never priced something like this before, so anything would be a wild guess. So I have no idea, to be honest with you.
Okay. Anything else, Matt?
That's all I have.
Anything else from Matt? Any other questions? No? All right, thanks, Matt.
Thank you.
Why don't we backtrack a little bit now that Neil's here, and go back to the bills and warrants? I wanted to make sure you were here, just to make sure, in case people had any questions.
Okay.
All right? If that's all right with everybody. All right, so we do have bills to pay this month. I'll read them off. We have construction monitoring services, $60,000. Colliers, $6,965. Fontaine Brothers, $246,002. Tecton Architects, $43,940.80. Allied Testing Laboratories, $1,145. Fit Equipment, $3,398. Sheehan's, $27,756.06. Granger, $1,274.93. WB Mason, $138.78. And Interspace Systems, $1,790. And Neil, I don't have a total on
Turn
that.
over the page.
Of the back page. Oh, we have more. Wally Computer Associates, $7,851.25. Hilliard, $4,067.41. And Comtech, $2,587.43, for a total of $406,916.66. Any questions on those? There being none, do we have a motion?
Make a motion that we pay.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to pay the above listed invoices. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So voted unanimously. Thank you, everybody. Now back to the reports. Neil, you're up.
Thank you.
All right.
Actually don't have a copy of the budget update that I sent you, so I will, happy to take any questions. The update that was provided does include the invoices as presented this afternoon.
It does or does not?
Does.
Does,
it
okay.
Yes.
Okay, well, that's good news.
I know that the communications, item at the bottom was updated also for bills through the first week in June. And I think we have incorporated through change order 14, not sure, I got 15 in there. So
Okay.
it should be itemized on the, right next to the change order column.
Okay. And now, with the exterior communications budget, are we done with that? Is that complete now, or do
I
we?
don't believe so.
No, okay.
I think as I recall, the forecasted completion cost was roughly 4.9 million.
Okay,
About 100,000 under budget,
okay.
and there are still bills remaining to be paid.
All right. Okay. If and when that is done, just a procedural question, if, let's say there were $150,000 left over, is that money allowed to be moved to other parts of the project, or, I'm not sure how
It
that
can be-
works.
As far as I understand, it can be used on this capital project or other capital projects.
Okay.
The
If
discretion
it
of select
goes to other capital projects, then it would have to be,
But only for capital type
it would-
expenses?
it would be a town,
Okay.
require a town meeting vote for that.
So would that include like sidewalks and? Things like that. Hey, I'm just, just trying to be efficient. All right. Thanks, Neil. Anything else?
Other than very happy to see site work happening and parking lot revisions proceeding. It's good to see work in progress.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right. Any questions for Neil? No, thanks, Neil. All right, next we have Ryan from Fontaine Brothers. Ryan, you are up.
Yeah, so since last month, we've had a lot of site work progress. As I mentioned earlier, all the deep utilities are about 95% complete. They have that one remaining pond up by the front grove of the former police department building left to construct. And as they've been finishing drainage, they've been bringing the site up to subgrade. So as you see in the back of the parking lot, there's a gradual slope as you get closer towards the police station. So I'd say you're probably 6-8 inches low of what the final grade is, but it'll slope back towards the town hall to meet the grade of the police department and match the grade of the existing town hall. So with the finish of the deep underground this week, they'll start setting all the light pole bases, EV charger bases, and get ready for more of the site finishes, as well as starting to look at some of the slower work with some underground electrical that's out by the primary transformer for the town hall building, as well as the generators. So there's a fair bit of underground work around existing other underground utilities by the town hall that we're going to be looking to get in after the 4th of July week, as well as trying to get as much done within the current limits of the fence. So once that's down, it's simply a pave, put the binder down and put the top coat down, and have as little construction activity going on over it. So we're going to get all of our underground electrical in, get granite curb in, get your topsoil in for all your planting beds, get as many of the trees set as possible, do as much work in there before we pave it, so that way we're working on the finished pavement as little as possible. But all the big excavation is nearing completion, and we're really just heading towards trying to get cleaned up in here, or on this side of the site. One thing that was approved in last month's change order was the chief's hand sink. So we've been working, myself and Steve and the subcontractors have been working together on getting a plan together, getting a workforce lined up to get that work completed the 2 weeks following the week of the 4th of July. So that'd be the 10th and the 17th. Just trying to get everyone in place to limit the activities, the duration of the activities, and the interruption to the police department. So putting a lot of planning together on that. We haven't identified any roadblocks from what we previously saw. So if anything comes up of that sort, we'll be sure to let everyone know, and either Neil or Roger or Keith or whomever is appropriate, if an issue arises, we'll send out a note to the committee, just so that everyone's up to speed on that. But all in all, there's a good month of forward progress, so hoping to keep that through July.
Okay, good. Questions? John?
Is there a tentative date now for phase 2 to become 100% completed? Do we have a date someplace?
I'd really
there?
like to be paving, to do all the paving by the end of July is what is what the goal
And the
is.
site work and all that? the
Yeah,
planting
so
service?
again, yeah, I'm trying to, instead of setting the binder and then coming back and doing the granite curb before the binder, so that we do the binder and the top coat, as well as your change order work for the additional mill and pave all the end of July and early August. I could
So
put,
by sometime in August, we will have it
yeah,
finished?
early August, yeah, the first or second week of August would be the ideal time for that.
Ryan, I know Matt had mentioned the kind of drainage issues over on Maple Ave, and now that the old station is gone and you're putting the rain gardens in there, have you found any problems over there in terms of water tables or drainage or anything like that?
No, with the dry spring, we've actually had fairly good luck. Really as deep as we go is right when the water table starts to hit. We haven't gotten into the water table where dewatering's been necessary, so kind of bottom of excavation for all drainage is worked out perfect to where it's not turned into
They
mud.
don't foresee any problems with that going, hopefully.
At this point, no major problems. It's kind of worked out. We've moved some soil around
Yeah.
to make most
Yeah.
of everything kind of even out.
Yeah, it's
so.
just, we haven't really, I guess we didn't know what was underneath the building until we
Yeah,
got rid
luckily
of it.
underneath the building is good material.
Okay.
It's a bit more diverse
Mhm.
material around the parking lot, but we've been able to manage.
Okay. Excellent. Any other questions? No? All right. That brings us then to change order 16. Who is handling
We'll
that? Yeah,
go through the changes as proposed.
fine.
First item is revisiting the paging system improvements from last month. We're reproposing this change to the committee with the amendment that it will be funded through CM contingency. No other new information is really available. The price has not changed, $1,962.35. and it's to provide a component that was not originally specified nor purchased through either the phone system or the PA system to alleviate the delay that's observed in the system as it is. PCO 137 is for the addition of a valance underneath the countertop in, I believe there are 3 areas of the building. This is a secondary change to the replacement cabinets, $3,875.85. And then, I think we talked about this last month, the police department requested that we change the way the overhead doors are operated. The current interface is through the access control system that was provided under the contract. The PD does not like that interface. There is an alternative that's available to us, and that's to reroute it through the radio control system of all things. In order to do that, there needs to be some additional Cat6 network wiring run and some new terminations made within the data room, and that's at a charge of $1,806.66. All 3 of those changes are proposed to be funded through the CM contingency with no change to the GMP. In addition to that, there are 5 other items which would be funded through owner's contingency. The first is additional mailbox millwork. After the department had affixed names to each of the mailboxes just inside the rear doorway, it was determined that they needed an additional 8 or 6 more mailboxes. So in order to effect that change, they have to actually take out what's there, enlarge the opening, provide an additional 6 shelves, and then put it all back together again. So the cost of that work is $4,688.36. In
So,
addition,
I
sorry,
have a question on that.
please.
So there are X number of mailboxes there. That's enough to
Yes.
cover all the employees, all the officers, administrative. What happens 10 years from now when the department is 20 people larger with the mailbox system?
Great question.
So if we're going to be doing, are we gonna come back and be doing this every 3 years as we expand the department?
So the request, a very fair question, Pat. I don't have an answer for you because I don't know. The department inevitably will likely get bigger, and the question was asked to provide 6 additional mailboxes.
Right.
So
So-
if we need to revisit it and add more, we can certainly do that.
If we're gonna spend the money, you know, what's the projection 20 years down the road for the size of the department? That would-
And I think the chief's not here, so
Right.
he would be the one to answer that.
So I
question.
think we would need to table that. I would want that answered before I approved anything on that one. I would want that question answered.
Can you tell me, like, how big is this mailbox for an individual? Is it a slot with just,
Yeah, it's 8.5 by 11 by
Yeah.
3 inches.
the reason I ask is, I was thinking the same thing as Pat as far as future, and if it is, first of all, should you really only put 8, or should you put more? Or at what point do they double up and have 2 people share a mailbox? And I mean, that's what I did at work, so I'm just curious. So I just need a better understanding of the plan. You know, is 8 short-sighted, or is 8 something we don't really need to do?
Do we know how many are there now?
I'll tell you in a second.
That's a good question, too.
What was the question?
How many are there?
How many are there now?
Are they
I think there are
adjustable?
50
So if it's a grid system,
I think if
They're fixed.
I counted right, there were 54 there now, and the additional 6 slots would bring the total count to 60. So that's what's there now.
How many employees do they have now?
That sounds like it's just,
I'm not sure what the head count is for mailboxes.
that sounds like police officers to me.
Yeah, that's the
Right.
same here.
Yeah,
I think
this-
it's around 55 sworn officers.
Right now?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah.
But then you've got, well, I don't know if the administration has their own mail area.
Yeah, I think it goes right into there, because, yeah, this is like right off the patrol staff entry. So this is sort of in the secured area, so civilian staff would
Yeah.
gather their mail in another location.
So if we're at 54, that's like a 9x6 grid.
Alex said that,
So
yeah,
do you make it 12x8 grid? So that we're good for the next 50 years?
Right.
I don't know what the question, what the answers are, but it seems like the incremental cost to that would be more worthwhile than spending 8,000, 9,000 now, and then 5 years from now saying, oh, we need a bigger one.
sure. And Alex just said there's 59 sworn officers, so just puts it right at,
Yeah.
Right,
just enough.
right at the number.
Yep.
So,
So they must not have all the sworn officers then in that, because when I was talking to officer, that.
It's just patrol, I believe.
Okay, yeah, because when I was talking to. And-
Chief and everybody.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
people that aren't in that, because Officer Hester was saying they have some spares now, but a certain number of people within the next 2 years go.
So we actually need two things. We need to have a better understanding of if it's short-sighted to only have that many, or at what point do they expect that they would double up, or what would their future plan be? So we need a couple of answers.
Well, I think if they did a projection of how many anticipated officers they're gonna need in the next 30 years, it should give us an indication of what.
right,
we need to
Right,
know.
which is far more than what they're asking for,
Yeah.
so.
yeah.
Right, and like, if it's only for patrol officers, maybe the number is much lower now.
Right, it's just,
Yeah.
we need more
Maybe it
information,
doesn't
I guess,
include
bottom
sergeants,
line.
lieutenants.
Maybe the 6 gives them what they need for the future to
Right.
project out for 30 years.
Oh, no,
I don't
I
know.
don't think so.
I don't know.
When
Well,
you
just for
think of how they
Just for
rotate,
patrol officer, if they're not using them all now.
but as they rotate in, how many additional officers should we request this year, next year, the next 5 years?
Well, that's what I mean. There should,
So
there
it's
should be a
gonna be more
projection
than that.
somewhere.
Right, and it's more than that.
But what I'm saying is if there's 59 there and it's only patrol officers and there's 40 being used now, does the 60 give them the number? I don't know. I
Yeah,
don't know the
right,
answer to it.
no. So we need those answers.
Yeah.
And the area is large enough, I guess, to expand this?
I have no idea.
We don't know
I-
that.
I'm
Do we know
assuming.
how big we can make this thing?
So you're in a opening, so the millwork is flush, so the mailbox slots go back into the wall, if that makes sense. Flush with the side.
Yep.
You have a 6'4" opening, and right now, we're going, the top mailbox slot is at like my eye level, so it's probably just under 6 feet high. So my understanding is we're gonna go two rows or 1 row higher above you, so you wouldn't want to go much higher, and you can't go too much lower, but there is large slots on the bottom for, large packages.
Sure.
So you could add more down.
Could add there, or you could, if you're gonna put in a new grid system, you could make them smaller.
Yep.
Yeah, you could go to 1.5" spacing versus
Yeah.
3.
Double them up, yeah. And where the packages are, it looks like you can create probably
Yeah.
1, 2, 18
Yeah.
more slots right there.
And the mailboxes are already in there, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right, so if you're gonna make a mess, you should know.
Let's make a big mess.
Do it right the first,
No more messes in that building.
do it right the first or second time.
Right. All right,
All right, we'll hold on that one.
okay.
PCO 121 was a request for remote toilet flushing from dispatch. And the cost associated with this was $32,549.40. And it provides an officer or an attending person with the ability to flush the detention cells toilets from dispatch. I will say that the majority of this cost is for the computer, the controller, and the training and setup associated with the controller system. I think there was 8 hours of plumber's labor in the proposal, so this is not a labor, this is more technology than it is anything else.
So what's in there now? Are they auto flush now in the cell? Or are they hand flush?
Manual buttons on the outside of
Manual button used by the prisoners
No.
Outside,
on
outside.
the outside.
yes. So So a prisoner cannot flush his own toilet.
So this sounds like more like a nice to have, as opposed to a have to have. I mean, if we have prisoners in detention, aren't they being checked on every half
Yes.
hour?
X number of minutes, I don't know what it is.
Whatever the
But I
standard
think
is.
I think it's at once every 15 minutes, but yes.
So I'm trying to understand why this is an issue. And I understand what the issue is, what prisoners can do with
Sure.
bodily waste.
Ugh.
Well, that's the reality of the
That's- yeah.
situation. You know, if they get angry. But if there's a constant patrol, it just seems, you know, as you're patrolling down that corridor, flush, 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 flush. That's, and I know the
That,
chief,
I don't disagree with you.
I know the chief's not here, but
Right.
that sounds very much like a nice to have as opposed to, is it an absolute necessity at this point?
I'm trying to understand. So somebody uses the toilet, somebody else outside flushes, and you want the dispatches to be the flusher instead of,
It's to provide that capability. Right now, somebody would have to leave dispatch or elsewhere in the station to go down to the cell block and remove the contents, if you will. That's the only way you can do it right now. And the request was to have that ability to do that from dispatch.
They would have to push the button on the outside.
so,
Yes.
That's correct.
But I guess my question, I guess this is why we need the chief there, is if we're in, if somebody's in detention, isn't there somebody down in that area, guarding that area?
no. They're watching them on camera.
But doesn't someone have to come every 15
I
minutes?
thought it was required.
I don't know if they have to physically go and check on them, but I know they have to have the cameras. They should be able to monitor them from dispatch. I'm not sure if they need to be,
Yeah, I'm not sure
Physically
what,
there or
I'm
not.
not sure what the standard is.
Do other police stations
I
have
was
this?
just gonna ask that.
Yeah.
What other stations have?
I don't know off the top of my head. I do know some other stations do have this, some do not.
because the other question on that would be maintenance cost and upkeep or upgrade on the technology aspect of it too. I don't know.
So-
That would be something down the road.
We asked that question when we were, fussing out the cost of the software and the technology part of it, and our understanding is, I'm certain it's written in the change order proposal that it was like a lifetime, it's like a one-time payment for the, software and any upgrades and that system itself, so.
And these are stainless steel toilets, correct?
Yep,
So, well, I do, so just another question, instead of spending money on technology, that works out to about $3,700 a toilet. Can the toilets be replaced with something that just auto flushes? That prisoners can't get access to the technology inside the toilet?
Because then they hide things or.
They still have to be able to
things
push
or-
the button.
I thi-
It doesn't always auto flush.
I don't know, at the risk of driving into a rabbit hole. I believe that the intent is to not allow the contents to be removed
Right.
without the blessing, if you will, of the watch. For lack of a better.
Because, well, yeah, I
Auto
mean,
flush,
Yeah.
I don't think is an option that's.
Yeah, 'cause they can flush. They can flush illicit materials down
Mhm.
too. Yeah,
Or clog the
that's a
toilet.
good point.
I don't know what the rules of privacy are for flushing, or for when someone uses a toilet in a cell. So,
There is none.
well, no, so you have the police officers that do what they do, and then you have dispatches. Is that an invasion of any privacy that we're gonna find out about next week, that dispatches can't have that? How would they know when to flush automatically? And are they invading their privacy by having that out there? And who can
the
see that
cells
cam-
are required to have 100% video and audio surveillance continuously.
And so that's at dispatch?
Yes,
Yes.
or.
So they see it anyhow?
Or any screen that somebody can log into.
Right.
It's just a network-based program.
But my point is, the dispatchers see it anyhow, so that argument goes away.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking.
This is where life safety overrules personal privacy, because it's really about preventing suicide risk in the cell areas.
With the cameras, not the toilets.
With the cameras, not the toilets is one, so they don't start causing mischief with them by clogging them up and flighting
Sure,
them out.
no, I
Really?
understand all that.
Second, as you pointed out, is preservation of evidentiary material that they may be trying to conceal.
Yep. I get it. I just think it's one of those things where we need the chief here to run a few things by him. Again, before we,
Probably an easy answer, we just,
right, we just don't
speculate.
know it, yeah. As opposed to just spending $32,000 without having the information.
do we
So-
hold everybody up by not making this decision today?
We could, if you're comfortable with some parts of it and not comfortable with other parts, I think the mailbox slot, we could go forward with PCO 16R1 and, approve the project, or not the project, the town manager to sign, with exception to PCO, 110 for the main the mailboxes, and then 121 for the cell box. And if we have issues with any others, we can do the same. We did the same thing
Last month.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so 110 and 121, I would hold off on for now, until we had more information.
Yeah, if that's what the committee's comfortable with.
Does anybody disagree?
Yep, I think that's.
No, need answers.
Were there any questions, Pat, on the remaining 3 items, or do you want to go through?
Why don't you go through them?
Okay. Probably much less thought-provoking. Some additional tackable wall surface within the services office. It's a space of roughly 4.5 by 6.5 at a cost of $1,279.95. That's just a tackable wall surface within the services division,
So it's a bulletin board, essentially.
essentially. Added interior signs. We looked at previously providing a raised aluminum emblem outside of the chief's office. And the chief and the department have requested that we provide a similar badge, I believe slightly smaller, at 2 additional areas. One outside the Detectives Bureau, where you would exit the elevator on the 2nd floor, and one at the rear of the training room, on the rear wall, I believe to the right of the double doors. In addition to that, there was a request to provide cast aluminum letters indicating communications above the large transaction window at the front of the dispatch area. The total cost of those changes was $12,976.95 for the additional signs.
Donna?
I have 2 questions. Could you break down what it costs for the badge signs and the words?
I believe each of the badges were roughly $5,000 from memory, and the words were 1,500, round numbers.
So my second part of that question is, do those words, is there a more, I think the words are nice, but is there a more practical way of doing that?
So,
So where you get the words somewhere in that room, but not necessarily?
So the word portion, the communications, this is on the lobby side and was more of a sense of wayfinding for the public. When you go in there and you look to the left, it's fairly obvious that the main desk where you go to get information is going to be the window in front of you, but there's no signage above it yet. But on the left, when you look over, there's the lettering for the records above the records window, and then similarly for the training room to the right. So the request was to have the consistent aesthetic over the dispatch window, the red communication. So as you are the public walking in, you'd be able to see that and know who you were talking to.
But that,
That's public view. I'm a little more comfortable with that than $5,000 signs over somebody's office. I've gotta be honest with you. That seems like a lot of money. Are there less expensive alternatives that can be tastefully done?
Or the function of these embossed raised things on the detectives and the chiefs, what is the function of that?
aesthetics.
And that's not a public area? For the most part?
Not a regularly publicly accessed area. The training room would be,
Right.
but the outside the dispatch, or the detectives bureau at the elevator lobby would not be regularly accessible area to the public.
May I ask a question?
Sure, Michelle?
That's an area that if there were members of the public back there, they would be escorted, right? Nobody would ever be back there without an escort.
Right.
Correct.
I'm just wondering if there are less expensive alternatives. Again, that could be, as opposed to cast aluminum, that could be hastily done. It just seems like a lot of money for 2 signs and 9 letters. Donna?
I'm wondering if we should have our next meeting over there, so we can actually visualize some of, I know, we sort of know what they're requesting, but maybe we need to see it to appreciate the value of it. So maybe if the meeting could be over there next July 17th.
Can you look into that, Alex? Great. We can try and do that.
What,
So-
next item?
Sure.
Well, 1 second.
Oh.
So we're gonna pull PCO 140 out of that.
I think we should for now, yeah.
Put it on hold with the other two?
Yeah, how many proposals did we get for these signs?
One.
1.
Yes.
Can we get 3?
Make them 3 separate, you mean?
3 separate designs, yeah.
I think it's a question, to me, Pat, it's a question of aesthetics, and I think if you're looking for consistency from one room to the other and consistency within the department, I think you would want the same sign vendor to produce all 3.
Yeah, but can the same sign vendor do different designs, though?
Oh,
Or different materials?
I'm sure that they could.
Well, yeah, that's what I think we're looking
I'm sorry,
for.
I misunderstood. I thought
Yeah.
you meant
You mean in a more
seat pricing
practical
from
manner?
different vendors.
No, I think he's looking more practical manner.
Are these signs different than the ones that are in the, for the other rooms?
I-
Or are they the
I
same?
believe they were the same, to the same spec that was the one.
They were just missed on the plan, they didn't get added in, or?
No, they were never part of the design. These were, as the department moved in, was living in the space, believing.
They weren't there, so they had to add these onto the
Yeah.
rooms, okay.
You had one other, Neil, did you say?
We do. So the last item, I called it PCO 141X, because it isn't directly related to Fontaine's work. So we spoke briefly earlier about the interface for the overhead door work. There's a portion of that change that we previously spoke about that is part of Fontaine's work, that Griffin is gonna do the Cat 6 wiring for us. The second piece of that is an add to have Cybercom come in and address the actual landing and termination of the Cat 6 wire in the punch block, and to facilitate programming on their radio system to facilitate the overhead doors. So that would be a vendor agreement that we would pay directly to Cybercom in the amount of $3,670.89. It is a related cost, so I wanted to bring it to the committee's attention, but it is not necessarily part of a formal change order to Fontaine, and it would be paid out of owner's contingency.
Okay, and just, that was kind of like Aramaic to me. I'm not sure I understood it all.
So really,
So what's the
really
benefit?
simply, Griffin is gonna pull new Cat 6 wires into the communication closet and
Yep.
leave them there at a cost of $1,806.66. Cybercom is gonna come in, take those Cat 6 wires, strip them out, land them onto the different contact points, and then wire their controller into that widget on the wall to make, and program their system to make the overhead door operable through the radio interface on the
all right.
computer screen.
Okay,
So it's just 2 different vendors. One is
Yep.
doing the grunt work from point to point, and the other is making the actual connections and programming inside of the radio system.
Question, Mr. Chair.
Sure.
On that one, it relates to, it's the radio vendor, so I'm assuming it's going through the radio system. Could that get paid out through the exterior communications?
So,
Could,
so that question has been asked, and we were provided with an answer. And respectfully, I would suggest that the committee make that request directly to the communications people in town.
I'm not sure I understand why.
well, because there's money
I
left over
understand Joe's
unless,
question.
unless that's gonna be spoken for.
I asked Joe if this was gonna be paid under the communications piece or paid under the project piece. And it was suggested that it would be paid under the project piece because the request came from the project side. And I said, I can argue, it's all the same bucket of money to begin with. So whether it's paid out of contingency from the $5 million dedicated to the communications, or whether it's paid out of, you know, the owner's contingency from the other, it's all one warrant ask, and it's all one bucket of contingency.
Well, it is, but the money can't all be used the same way. This, to Joe's point, this $3,700 or $3,670 is a capital expense, which we can use from the communications piece based on our discussion earlier this meeting. The owner's contingency we can use for virtually anything. So if we can specify,
No.
even if it's $4,000 to communications for a capital expense, that makes more sense.
I think my understanding is we have $42 million identified for this project as a capital project. 5 million is for the communications and 37 million is for the station. At the end of the day, it was one appropriation, one $42 million ask. So any funds that are left when the station is done and the communications is done falls underneath a capital project request. So I think you have the same limitations of alternative uses, whether it's from one side or the other.
That may be correct, except the $5 million was at town meeting. We told town meeting the $5 million was for the communication project. So we need to make sure that if we're going to use it for something other than communications, there may be a town meeting conversation.
Right.
So that's it's the same borrowing,
Yeah.
Yes,
but
but
what
different
we-
purpose.
what
It's a
we-
different bucket.
Right, what we said at town meeting. So I wasn't aware that conversation happened, so I can have it and see if we can take it from the
Yeah.
communication project and see why there may or may not be a
Yeah.
reason why. They may have just, they might come in at 4.9 on their communications project, but might have concerns about things that may come up after complete. And
Right.
have they might want to use that $100,000 for something else. So
Yeah.
let me have that conversation.
Sure. I mean, my concern is, for some reason, we went through the owner's contingency. We spent it all. And then we had
Sure.
something that was a non-communication item that we had to do. We can't use that money out of the communication budget at that point. So if we can draw that down to zero and preserve some of the owner's contingency, which is a lot more flexible, I would rather do that.
Okay.
Gotcha. Okay, I'll find that out.
So that one's on hold too then, right? 141X, we'll call it.
Who said we didn't need a meeting in?
Well, things change. All right. So the way I see it, we need a motion to approve from change order 16, PCO 131, 135, 137, and 141.
Move we approve change orders 131, 135, 137, and 141.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve those selected change orders.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
On one, the millwork to, Never mind, I'm
137.
sorry. I'm thinking of the mailboxes on 137. I was thinking of the mailboxes,
Okay.
but that's different. Never mind.
Okay, no, that's fine.
Sorry about that.
Then no problem at all. So we have a motion and a second to approve change orders, PCOs 131, 135, 137, and 141. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So voted. And we will wait for more information on PCOs 110, 121, 140, and 141X.
So, Pat, by approving, just to be clear, by approving PCO 141, you are approving the work of the Cat 6 wire to facilitate the change to the radio system. The reason for holding back 141X is just to determine.
Which bucket of money? Yeah, which bucket of money it's
Okay.
coming out
I
of.
just want to make sure that was clear, that's all.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's, nobody has a problem with spending that money, correct?
Nope.
Okay,
Okay.
all right. I lost my train of thought there. Where are we now? Other business. Keith?
So I have two items, points of information, both of them. The first one is I wanted to make you aware, working with the project team, related to the site work. The sidewalk on Maple Ave, that's out front, part of the project is to replace the sidewalk between the two new entrances of the police station. And then the west entrance out here gets closed, so there's gonna be a new piece of sidewalk there. So what I've asked the team to look at is the cost to complete the sidewalk from the new east PD entrance, so the closest PD entrance, the new one, all the way to the town hall entrance on this side. That includes 2 ADA ramps at the entrance over here. So that does two things. One, it makes a consistent sidewalk, the whole length. Two, it adds 2 ADA ramps, and it all ties in with the new asphalt that's gonna continue all the way out to here. We don't have an exact number on that. It's under $20,000 for that work. Fontaine and Tecton are working on that plan and the numbers. And I think so we'll bring that at the July 17th meeting for a vote, which should not impact your schedule based on your paving. So I wanted to let committee know about that.
Yep.
The other thing I want to let the committee know is I've been working with Selco for about 6 months now, working to create a plan for solar infrastructure using our public buildings. And as you know, the police station has been designed for that, for solar, but it's not part of our project. So trying to understand the funding, ownership, which side of the meter it's gonna be on, all of that work is complicated, and we need Selco's input on all of it. So on the July 17th meeting, we wanna give a presentation to the committee about what that project for the PD would look like, what the cost would be, and the funding for that would potentially be owner's contingency, based on what we look like we're gonna have left for this project. So we'd be looking for not necessarily a decision in July, but at least brings the committee up to date to let you know that what we're looking at, because the overall plan is working with Selco, is to leverage as many of our buildings as possible to create like a town-wide solar array.
Yep.
Like, for example, the police station, Beal Elementary School, and the library have all been designed to support solar. And then we have other buildings that have very new roofs on them, like Floral Street School will get a new one next year. Patton and Spring Street have not that old roofs, so like we can leverage our properties for things like solar and battery storage and stuff like that. So it's just an ongoing collaboration with Selco to do that.
Good.
So Selco's working on the project and the cost and how the management would be. And so we want to present that to the committee next month.
Excellent, sounds good. So we do need a meeting, definitely. And on the sidewalk, it sounds like it's just more efficient to do it all at once.
Sure.
You've got everybody on site,
Right.
so the incremental cost, I think, would be much less
Right,
than.
there's no mobilization for that.
Right.
Contractor's already here. One thing I do have to note is the state does own that So we would kind of be doing a service for the state, but it's.
They own what?
They own the sidewalk. But we would use our funds to pay for it, which I'm sure they'll be happy to accept.
Oh, I'm sure we can submit for reimbursement from the state.
But that's one point I just want to make sure everybody's aware. We don't own the road.
Okay.
We do maintain the sidewalks.
Mhm.
Typically, we would not be replacing them.
Yep.
But it would just look like a patchwork
Right, right.
job if
Oh, it
it
makes
was all
sense.
complete, so.
May I ask a question on that?
Sure, Michelle.
With the sidewalks, you said it would go all the way to the entrance of Town Hall where the big white sign is.
Yep.
There tends to be, if you're coming into that entrance from the road on the left-hand side, there's a lot of puddling and pooling.
So,
Is that being addressed?
Yep, so that's all part of the change order for milling and overlaying this front area, this front area and this exit.
Okay.
And they'll adjust all that with the pavement
Okay,
when they do that.
all right.
And then we'll do 2 new concrete ADA ramps with tactile surface on both sides,
Perfect.
which don't exist now.
Yes, thank you.
Excellent. Donna?
Were we gonna talk about the public restrooms with the petitions warping already?
So that was an issue those partitions aren't, they're becoming more common, but they aren't as typical. So, in construction, Steve, my superintendent, saw a greater issue with the ADA doors. So with some bracing and some clamping, they're able to get them to straighten out. But after discussions with the vendor and our partition supplier, subcontractor, installer, they realized that the vendor hadn't shipped, I guess you call it stiffener back bar to keep that material from warping. Just any unsupported length of that material, it's like plywood essentially. It has a tendency to want to warp and move. So that had just been missed on our part in correcting that, and we had made efforts when they first installed it to correct it, so that is being corrected. So that's just the nature of that material. So
So we'll be all set.
it will be all set. It won't be warped before we leave.
And I don't know who's in charge of giving us these, thank you, the reports weekly. They're very helpful.
That would be Tyler.
Thank them.
Yep. All right.
Pat, I just have one other.
Oh, sure,
I
Neil.
failed to mention
Yep.
either of my other. What I expect will be the last furniture package purchase was included in your packet of information that was sent out today. There are 3 pieces of forensic equipment.
Oh, yes, yes. Sorry about that.
One is a ductless fuming chamber, for fingerprinting and the like. The other is a evidence cabinet, it's basically a dryer cabinet. And the last is a 72-inch downdraft evidence bench.
As I recall, have we approved this or no?
It has not been approved yet, that's why I brought it forward today. We just got the final equipment selection from the department within the last 2 weeks. So there is some unallocated or secured funding left within the furniture and technology line items. So I'm proposing this would be a purchase within the existing budgets that we have for just shy of $22,000. Again, the department request, most of this stuff was in the original concept. And there is a power element to all of these cabinets, which we need to work through with Griffin. So there'll be what I would expect to be a relatively minor change coming down the road to provide power to these 3 units as well.
Okay. Any questions around, does everybody have this in front of them? Can you explain what the technology is again, Neil, just so everybody's up to speed on it?
The 48-inch fuming chamber is to provide fingerprinting capability within the department. I think currently it's all been outsourced. The evidence drying cabinet, I think, is a way of preserving evidence long-term. And then the evidence bench is a place for evidence to be processed. If a product comes in that might contain drugs or other products, this is a downdraft table, so nothing comes back in the officer's face if they open a package and whatnot. They could put it on the table, downdraft it through, it goes through a HEPA filter back into the space.
And the fuming chamber is for pulling fingerprints. It's just a more modern,
They use it for preserving the fingerprints.
yeah, and preserving, okay. Yes. Anybody have questions around that?
Move we approve,
Second.
and this is within the budget for furniture,
Yes.
so.
Yes.
So we'll give the department the green light to go ahead
So we
and.
Yeah,
need
so
to
we,
vote?
yeah, yes, we do. So we have a motion and a second to approve the forensic equipment as discussed by Neil, the 48-inch ductless fuming chamber, the 36-inch evidence cabinet, and the 72-inch evidence bench. Any questions? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, so voted unanimously.
Thank you.
Sometimes it's easy.
Still trying to figure out how I keep drawing the short straw.
But that information was in the report, the weekly report, so it was helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, just if I don't see it on the agenda, then it's kind of, sometimes it slips through. All right, so we have meeting schedule. That's the old one. Why do I have that? Where are we? July 17th. Is everybody available?
I am not.
Okay.
And there's a weather contingency, but, so if it's bad weather, we'll be here, but.
I got you.
Yeah. But otherwise I
Well,
will.
we'll have 5 then, right? Okay, so we'll have a quorum so we can have a meeting. All right,
The idea was that one would be in the police department if possible.
that would be nice. I haven't even seen it
Yeah.
since the last tour we had, so to just walk in there would be nice. I wanted to go last week during food truck night, but my daughter had a game, so I had to get to that.
Priorities.
Then we have August 21 and September 18th. All good? All right. Anything else? No?
May I ask, is there an option to join these meetings remotely?
No.
Alex?
We haven't had that
Okay,
for a while. no.
okay.
I mean, we could accommodate it if we had to,
No, we
right,
can.
Alex? Yeah.
We can do a one-off on it. Yeah, we've done it before, the only difference, then we just have to roll call everything, which is
Yeah.
fine. That's not a problem.
we've done it with Kristen.
All right?
All right. Either way, I'll be, August and September work for me, so.
So if that's, yeah,
Just
if that's the
the
case,
July
just
date.
get in touch with Alex. They can set you up,
All
and,
right,
yeah, we can do that.
okay, thank you.
All right, motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody.